Warpugs, today we're playing catch up because I am a derp who cannot follow a playlist apparently, and I apparently skipped When Day Breaks, Unlondon, Undublin. I am an idiot. This is very well known about me. If you came here looking for a genius, you're at the wrong place. I'm an idiot. So, I completely missed this one. I don't know how. I don't know how. Warpugs, I got all excited when I saw Mr. Illustrated release. It popped up on my feed. I was like, yay, more. And for some reason, it didn't pop on my feed when this came out. I would like to know why. And guys, if you're wondering, like, every once in a while, and I have certain channels that I am subscribed to. I have the notification bell hit, but it doesn't notify me when they upload. And some of you guys tell me that it drives you crazy when you can't see that I upload. Believe me, sometimes it drives me crazy when I don't see some of the people that I follow very closely. This is Mr. Illustrated, guys. Mr. Illustrated. I'm a fan of the Undublin series, the Unlondon Undublin series, as far as this goes. I'm a fan of this series altogether, as you can see by the piece of art hanging back there on my wall. Check it out, it's in the description down below. Get yourself some art from Mr. Illustrated, because it's just awesome, okay? When I first saw that picture, I said, I want that on my wall. And guess what? It's up on the wall, okay? I mean, look at that. It's amazing. Warpugs, Mr. Illustrated is one of my favorite creators on this entire platform. I'm a big fan of art, if you haven't been able to tell. Mainly because I can't draw worth a crap. I'm infinitely jealous of those who can, and my jealousy and envy could power a small nuclear reactor at this point. Warpugs, we're going to check out When Day Breaks, Unlondon, Undublin, Part 3. And I already know some things that happened because I spoiled myself by skipping ahead in the story by an episode. I will beat myself with reads in penance. All links are going to be in the description below. Leave me a comment down below letting me know what you think. Or just call me a boomer. Most of you will just probably call me a boomer. That's okay too. Let's get into it.
And welcome back to the next When Day Breaks, the next part in the Unlondon, Undublin storyline, and boy, the nukes are gonna fly!
Yay!
A big thanks to the amazing patrons and members, a quick word from today's sponsor, and we'll get started. You missed your parcel, your password's expired, your subscription's been renewed, you owe late fees, extra taxes, a Nigerian prince wants to send you $1 million.
Typically, it's just people want me to, you know, do a 5-minute YouTube video on this new product that they're offering that, yeah, I get too many sponsorship requests a day, and it's usually for people who I can just outright guess never have seen what I do, don't know anything about my audience. Guys, you're never going to see me offer a sponsorship unless I actually believe in the product.
Yeah, that smells like a phishing scam. Phishing scams are no joke, everyone. The degenerates that come up with these scams work very hard to convince you that they are real. The URLs can look semi-legit at a first glance, the websites look pretty convincing too, and even their ways of emotionally manipulating you are perfectly tailored. Information is the most valuable commodity we have. You give these assholes your info, and boom, identity theft, money lost, reputation destroyed, malware installed, and your sensitive data stolen. You want to stay safe out there, you need NordVPN. Recognizing phishing scams are their bread and butter, and they will keep you and your devices protected against them. Go to nordvpn.com/SCP and you can get the discounted 2-year plan plus 4 months for free, and it's completely risk-free with a 30-day money-back guarantee.
And guys, let's look at this, okay? And I'm just going to say this, and I'm not sponsored by NordVPN, but I actually work with, as part of my day job, I work with internet on a day-to-day basis. That's pretty good. I'm just saying, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good price for a VPN. I'm just saying.
Don't risk it out there. Be safe. Follow my link and go and get NordVPN and protect your devices today.
Save yourself some money. I will have the link in the description below.
Jacob and Kira were attached to a Foundation research team in Unlondon when the When Daybreaks event began. Unlondon inevitably succumbed to the tide of flesh, forcing the trio to fall back to safety while the Bobbies made their last stand.
I'm just going to turn the light on. There it is, guys. The second I saw that, I said, I want that on my wall. And yeah. Links to this are in the description below. Guys, I love this. It's my favorite decoration right now that isn't something that was done by Valk. You can see the things done by Valk on either side. I wish I had more room for art, to be honest with you.
As the group escaped to the sea, the creator of Unlondon burned the city and the flesh to ash. Eventually, the group made their way to Undublin. The creator shared his great plan to start a nuclear Armageddon as a way of destroying the flesh, blocking out the sunlight, and giving humanity a chance to develop a long-term solution. Jacob and Kira agreed, while Elise chose to stay behind to help escort refugees to the Wanderer's library. Accompanied by a detachment of Bobbies, Jacob and Kira set off to start a nuclear apocalypse.
Yay!
Recording 16. Luck's run out. I'll have to go topside tomorrow. The plan was to use the sewer system to get from Undublin all the way to the harbour where the submarine is moored, completely bypassing the town and the sunlight. We just found out that that is not possible.
Yay.
Undublin has these outposts in the sewers, but they all lead to the same blocked-off stairway. Each outpost is usually manned by 2 Bobbies and a couple of regular humans like ourselves. After the PA put out the call that they were sealing the entrance, however, most of the humans abandoned their posts. I hope they made it back. Fortunately for us, this outpost was manned. One of the guys told us the sewer had been collapsed further along to stop the flesh. I went up to the watch point while Kira played cards with the Bobbies. It's scary out there now. I don't mean the flesh and all that, but just the dead quiet of it all. It's like the world was put on mute. No bugs chirping, no birds tweeting, no cars beeping, no planes flying. After what happened to the trees, there's not even the sound of the leaves rustling in the breeze. I think that's enough depressing talk from me. Big day tomorrow. Kira, do you want to say something? Recording 17.
Despite the shitty sewer situation, I'm in good spirits overall, I suppose. I'll admit that I'm glad Elise is no longer in our group. I'm not proud of that, but her staying behind was the best choice. She was a liability and a distraction, and we need to be focused if we're to succeed tomorrow. Jacob seemed a bit bummed out, but the Bobbies cheered him up with some whiskey from a hip flask. I'll tell you something. These guys are all right. Lively chaps with a sense of humor. One of them held his nose as we walked through some shit, and it turns out these things don't breathe, so it did it just to lighten the mood.
Sometimes you need to lighten the mood just a bit.
They aren't so great at cards, though. If we were playing for money, I'd be a rich woman.
Yay!
I went to the watch point. I could see the sub way off in the distance. There's a lot of open ground to cover, and then the town, which is going to be a nightmare, I'm sure. On that note, I'm gonna get some shut-eye. Might have one more game of rummy with the Bobbies, though, first.
Recording 18. We're trapped in a supermarket. We got across the open country without issue, but once we got into the town, it all went to shit. A rat ran out in front of us, got caught in the sun, and that was it.
Yay.
Suddenly we've got flesh pouring out from every window and doorway, chasing us through the streets. A Bobbie found us a way into the store, and thank God, we managed to get in without them seeing. They don't know we're in here, but we can hear them skulking around out there. The thing is, I think we're dead anyway. The way we came in was through the back of a truck. The trailer had broken through the wall and opened out into the store. It's an SCP truck, and it was carrying something. Kira, I think you could better explain this. Recording 19.
Keep your voice down. The truck was carrying some kind of organic anomalies to the Dublin biosite when the event began. There's no documentation on what, but it's something big and aggressive going off of the broken cages and tranquilizer rounds. The habitation generators have not only been working on the truck, but also on the store. It's very humid in here, and visibility is pretty bad. We can hear something out there.
Is it
Sounds like
939?
whispering. We can't go back the same way, so we're just gonna have to try and get to the loading bay and out the back. Right. Jacob, let's do this. Stay behind the bobbies.
Recording 20. There was something in that fucking truck, all right. It's mostly a blur, which of course it would be with all that shit in the air. I remember we were crouched behind some tipped shelves. We could hear voices. It sounded like someone calling for help, so a bobby went out to check it while we waited. There was a crash and then this sound like crunching, wet crunching.
939?
There's a gap there. The next thing I remember is a bobby almost laying over me, holding me to the floor while this tapping sound ran past our knocked over shelves. Next thing I remember is the sound of commotion. I looked back to see two of the bobbies unsheathing swords from their canes and run down another stack of shelves while another two began to push me towards some double doors. I lost sight of Kira. I tried to go back, but the bobbies both grabbed me by the arms and carried me out. I can't remember anything after that. I just remember coming to in the shipping container with the bobbies and Kira sat next to me. Kira remembers though. Here, you record your piece and I'll bandage your arm up. Recording 21.
It was fucking 939.
Yes!
The truck had 3 of them in it. The air was thick with the 227 amnestic shit they pump out as well, so Jacob's head was in the clouds. Inoculation in most low to medium grade amnestics is part of basic training for security, so I was lucid the whole time. One of the bobbies was killed straight away. He went to investigate the cry for help and then it pounced on him. Took the guy's head off and began devouring him. The thing was ravenous. They must not have fed in a long time. Next thing you know, another one of them smashes through the shelves behind us. It probably hurt the other feeding. These things can't see, but whatever their equivalent is, it looked right at me.
Joy!
Jacob was still in a daze from the 227, but a couple of the bobbies had pinned him to the floor. The thing hadn't noticed them, so I bolted. Figured I could lead it away to buy them some time. I barely even made it 10 feet before it was on me. Bastard slashed my arm with its claws. I fell. A couple of bobbies then came up behind it, began stabbing it with their swords. They have swords in their canes. Who knew?
Yay!
They wrestled it to the floor and sawed its head off. Proper gory execution kind of stuff. That was when the third appeared and grabbed one of the bobbies. The other picked me up and began rushing me towards some doors. I could see Jacob being dragged through them too. I also saw the flesh smashing their way through the windows and forcing open the main doors. No doubt thanks to all the noise. That last bobby. He sacrificed himself for me. He pushed me through the doors and then slammed them shut again just as the flesh was upon him. It may have been only seconds, but I would be dead without them. Out on the street, I saw the flesh pulling out the 939 creatures. They turned to soup in the sunlight, and so too did the bobbies. The flesh was so distracted in the frenzy, I was able to get away without trouble. I caught up with Jacob not long after.
Recording 22. It's night and we're on the move. Me, Kira, and the last 2 bobbies. We're at the docks now and the sub is not too far away. We're using the containers for cover.
Jacob, watch them! Jacob!
Fuck!
Jacob, move!
What about the recorder?
Fuck the recorder! Run! They're coming!
The flesh was on them in an instant, locking onto the sound of clattering metal and feet splashing on wet tarmac. Tendrils ensnared Jacob. Kira got a brief glimpse of his terrified face through his mask before he was pulled away behind the containers.
Jacob!
The bobbies pulled the screaming Kira away and towards the submarine. She ran through the tears, clutching her arm that had started to bleed again. They charged up the gangplank. One of the bobbies stood at the top, pulled out his blade, and slit his throat. Amber liquid gushed out onto and down the platform. The other bobby took out his lighter, reached over the dying man, and set the platform ablaze. The flesh retreated from the flames. Kira wailed fresh tears as she saw a large creature on the dock holding up Jacob. She stood there transfixed and watched in horror as the creature pulled off his mask and held him up to the moonlight. He screamed, melted, and disappeared into the very creature holding him. The final Bobby forced open the submarine hatch and ushered Kira down the ladder. He followed, slamming the hatch shut behind him. Something heavy hit the hatch and they both fell to the gantry below and began running through the corridors. Banging and screaming echoed all around her as the flesh attempted to break through the metal.
Emergency hull breach. Emergency hull breach.
The PA screamed in her ears as she finally reached the bridge. She ran towards the weapons console and initiated the launch sequence.
Initializing.
In the event of an XK-class end-of-the-world scenario, all Allied militaries were required to adopt SCP Foundation XK protocols, including nuclear facilities. She punched in her authorization code and set the destination.
Target locked.
The groan of the silo doors opening filled her ears, drowning out the flesh banging on the door temporarily. She opened the cover and flipped the switch.
Firing sequence engaged. Firing in T-minus 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Kira went flying to the side as several nuclear rockets fired upwards, screaming away towards SCP-1984. She regained her footing but was now at an angle. The sub was taking on water fast and sinking from the flesh breaking through. She sighed and collapsed with a splash as seawater began to bleed through the floor panels. The flesh was still pounding on the door. The final Bobby unsheathed his sword and faced the door, ready to defend Kira. Poor Jacob. She wished he could have made it to the end, at least to see them complete their mission. She tremored as the pounding intensified. There was no way out. This was it. It's okay, she thought. The mission is over. The door came falling down with an almighty crash. Kira shut her eyes tight and waited for the fleshy tendrils to grab her. They did not. She heard footsteps splashing towards her. She opened her eyes to see a tall woman dressed in rags, her face barely visible, hunched under the low ceiling staring down at her.
Kira North, yes? We've been looking for you.
The Bobby retreated a few steps as from behind her, an old man also in rags, dripping black liquid, appeared through the doorway.
And now we're caught up.
And that concludes this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave a like.
That feeling when the nukes fly off and you're not petrified by what's about to happen. Warpugs, this is a situation where nuclear fire is actually not the worst thing on the planet at that moment. Guys, the Flesh, one of easily the better antagonist I've seen in any kind of media. If a bunch of people on YouTube can do this, why is Hollywood so just terrible at this nowadays? Why can't they come up with any stories like this that captivate? It's just a question. Why isn't Mr. Illustrated and Dr. Simmer and everybody else like that working on a project for Hollywood right now? That's the big question that I have. I don't know. I never will know. And my brain quakes in just the sheer irritation that I get from it. Guys, please check all the links in the description below for Mr. Illustrated. Get yourself some artwork, like I did. Get yourself some artwork, because I love that piece. That piece is going to be in this office for a long time. Warpugs, thank you for spending some time with me tonight. Check the links in the description below again. Check my links. Join as a member of Patreon for early access. I'm caught up. I am no longer a complete failure. It's awesome. Now, all we have to do is cry and gnash our teeth in pain and anguish until the next episode comes out. Until that happens, I'll catch you guys next time.